And that is recording. Awesome, great. So also throughout the process, there's a chat feature. So we've muted everyone just to try and keep all the crosstalk or the audio is kind of going wonky there. So if there are any kind of questions, please don't hesitate to hit that chat button. Basically, if we'll go through the document together. If you have a burning question that has to be asked right at that moment, right at that section, just definitely fire out a chat question. But then at the end of the session as well, we'll do chat questions, and then I'll do audio answers going on right there. So the Campus Access Guidelines document. Great. So this document should be considered fluid as it will be updated as guidelines and expectations require adjustment. We've had it roughly around since June 18th, and it's continually changing and growing depending on the situations within the campus and from the surrounding communities going on right there. So it's always changing and always improving there. The health and safety of the members of the college community is a top priority as work begins to resume on campus operations during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's in effect as long as deemed necessary by a Gprc executive upon recommendation of the COVID-19 emergency response team, and applies to all individuals in or on Gprc premises as well as users of college fleet vehicles. So this also applies within the use of fleet vehicles. Where this does not apply to is it does not apply to students and residents within tenants. So within our residential housing units, it's not applicable to the inside the tenants, not applicable to children in like the early learning and childcare program or the building blocks daycare program at the Grant Prairie campus, because they have their own Alberta guidelines that they have to be meeting and following. And doesn't apply within the Hawker Pavilion, Northern Lakes College building, building blocks daycare, the College and Community Health Center, the GP campus, and the Fairview pool. Got the definition of the members of the college community. And premises means college campus grounds, buildings that are owned, leased, or operated by Gprc. Now, non-compliance. Non-compliance of this guideline will be followed up for employees through the progressive discipline policy, students through the student misconduct, academic and non-academic policy, and contractors through agreements made under the procurement policy. So we have custodial contractors on site, Paladin, our contracted security providers, any kind of contractors that are external to Gprc. So if there are any non-compliance items, we will follow up with them through the contractual agreements that we have with those entities. So still, members of the college community must have approval to enter premises through either inclusion on Gprc's essential list, approval by their VP or the VP designate, or in the case of contractors, the approval is granted through the company and Gprc through their procurement policy process. Members of the college community must complete a screening process via the Gprc mobile app or paper form when they come to the campus. If a member of the college community does not meet the conditions of the screening process, they will not be allowed to enter the premises and must self-isolate. So we have an updated version of the Gprc app. It's available on the Apple and Android devices to access the COVID-19 information there. So what this screening process is, and answering a question from yesterday, as part of the screening process, Gprc is not doing temperature checks. So we're not having thermometers or doing temperature checks as part of the process there. We're doing a screening document process. So this is the paper version. To protect the health and well-being of the Gprc college community, the college is committed to mitigating risk and adhering to the protocols, recommendations, and guidelines of the Chief Medical Officer of Health for the province of Alberta. For more information about Gprc's response, go to the Gprc COVID-19 website. So daily screenings for COVID-19 symptoms are required prior to entering into Gprc premises. Symptomatic or sick individuals will not be permitted inside Gprc buildings. And again, this document is not applicable over at the student residences. So the questions are, if you have any of the below symptoms not related to a pre-existing condition, so we have some yes or no answers there. Have you or anyone in your household traveled outside of Canada in the last 14 days? Have you had close contact with someone who is ill with cough or fever? Or have you or anyone in your household been in contact in the last 14 days with someone that is being investigated or confirmed to be a case of COVID-19? So if you answered yes to any of the above questions, do not answer at this time. Symptomatic individuals should use AHS's COVID self-assessment or call HealthLink 811 for assistance. And employees must notify their supervisor if they're self-isolating. If you answered no, then you are allowed to enter into the building, but keeping in mind we want you to be practicing physical distancing where possible. Wear a mask in high traffic areas, so it's just hallways, public areas, and other places where you cannot maintain 2 meters physical distancing. And again, practice good hygiene. Wash your hands often, cover your coughs, sneezes, and avoid touching your face. And then at the end, it asks you if you agree, yes or no, that you've been adhering to the guidelines and public health orders recommended by the Chief Medical Officer of Alberta. And then you would sign and date. So again, this is the paper version. These versions are only we have some FOIP information there. These documents are only kept for 2 weeks. And so basically all this document will be shredded afterwards there. We only keep it for 2 weeks because if there are cases of COVID on GPRC premises, when Alberta Health Services comes to site, they're only going to be asking for information on people that could have been involved from 2 weeks previous there. So that's why we keep it for the 2 weeks portion there. So again, you're going to come to the campus and you'll have to do a screening process. And there's 2 locations where this will take place. So we have the paper process, and then on your GPRC app, if you go and you download and you check out the newest version of the GPRC app, there's this handy little new button that says COVID-19 on it. And so that's the one that you press that will get you into a questionnaire screening process very similar to the paper version. So if you're coming up to check in with security there, you can either do the paper version or go onto your GPRC app and click the COVID-19 button there, and it has the same questionnaire, yes or no questions, information going on that. Mandatory isolation requirements will be in effect for members of the college community per Government of Alberta guidelines, and so we have a link to that going on there. So up until August 3rd, for employees that come onto campus, we're doing a sign-in, sign-out process and a screening process. So Nate Smith has appropriate approval, goes and gets the appropriate approvals from the VP to come to site. Nate will meet up with security at a designated location. So up until August 3rd, at the Grand Prairie campus, that designated location is the theater entry. Up until August 3rd, at the Fairview campus, that location will be the gymnasium. So Nate will go up to security, will sign in with security and either show the security guard my GPRC app with a little check mark on it there, actually, or I'll complete the paper version. And so basically I'll go and I'll walk up to the guard and I'll complete my version there. It has a little something like that that shows a little green check mark there, access permitted. So again, up to August 3rd, the check-in location is going to be the theater entry. There's always a guard station there between these times. And if you have approval to come to campus outside of those times, you'll have to connect with security ahead of time just to arrange for them to meet you there. At the Fairview campus, the guard is there at the gymnasium weekdays between 6:45 and 9 a.m. Again, if you're arriving outside of those hours, you'll have to call security to meet with the gymnasium to complete the screening process. And we have a slightly different process for our friends at the National Bee Diagnostic Center. And contractors coming to site will also have to meet with security to complete the process as well. Now, so again, as we mentioned, so up until August 3rd, you're gonna have to sign in and sign out. After August, starting August 3rd, you won't have to do a sign in or sign out. So we're not tracking that, but we are still tracking the screening processes. So when you walk up to the campus, you go up to the guard, you flash the screen that's saying you're okay to enter, or you complete the paperwork, but you don't have to sign in or sign out. So starting August 3rd, we're going to be shifting the screening process location from the gymnasium to the TIB building there. And we'll have a guard station there weekdays, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now for the and then later on, Animal Health Building, August 12th and August 12th for Plant Science. So August 3rd, we have the TIB. And then August 12th, we'll have the TIB, Animal Health, and Plant Science. So there'll be 3 locations where security will be on site to complete screening processes daily for individuals. For the Grand Prairie campus, we're at the theater entry, but then on August 3rd, we're gonna be switching to the main entry. And then after that, the other locations will be the theater entry on August 12th, and in addition, the M-Wing entry for August 12th as well. Also for the GP campus trades building, we'll be having a guard specifically outside the trades building early in the morning as well at the beginning of September there, depending on the days when it's open. So up to August 3rd, if you're going to the GP campus, you're going to go to the theater entry. Fairview campus, you're going to go to the gym. And then after that, there'll be additional guards on site for the screening process check-ins. Members of the college community who refuse to complete the screening process will be denied entry. They must then follow up with their supervisor about future access accommodations. So everyone has to complete a screening process once daily when they come to site. Again, information for the FOIP information is collected and only held for 2 weeks. Now, all departments will be locked during the day and admission granted only to employees within that department. Department access can be granted to external users by appointment or with approval on an as-needed basis. So executive members can still flow through the building. Common use departments, library, fitness center, we're going for different processes for opening up these locations, and more information on that will be available in the future on the website. But this present time, the departments are going to be closed. So if you come at the Grand Prairie campus and you're like, oh, I really need to speak with Nate in the facilities department, the facilities door will be locked. So we are, again, encouraging everyone to do email, phone, teleconference, Zoom messaging for meetings. If there's something you need to follow up with someone about, like Kelly or someone in facilities, so Kelly or Cordell, or at the Fairview campus like Darren, again, they'll have to either do an appointment because the doors will all be locked to get in there. And again, when you're leaving the campus each day, you do a sign out up until August 3rd. After August 3rd, we're going to be abolishing the sign out process. This document will be updated at that time and then posted later on there. Members of the college community who start to experience symptoms associated with COVID-19 or are within 2 meters of a symptomatic individual on site must immediately return to home to isolate. So Nate comes to campus, he's feeling all right, and he's got his document, and he's completed his screening process, and he's showed security, and he's come onto the building, and he's doing his tasks that he's supposed to assign for that day. But then a few hours later, Nate's starting to feel weird. He's starting to have a headache, or he's started to develop a lot of pain, or any other conditions like sore throat, chronic a lot of sneezing going on there. So at that time, Nate's going to remove himself from the campus. So if you're starting to feel unwell and you are no longer if you're no longer valid under the screening process, you need to leave the campus and tell your supervisor. So your supervisor will then go and connect, provide your information to myself, or Tom or Miles. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be doing risk assessments for all the individuals that are showing symptoms. Symptomatic individuals are going to be doing risk assessments, and then also tracking back where they've been and who they've been interacting with for the previous 2 weeks. And for students, their students are going to have to leave. So if they're starting to feel unwell, they're going to have to leave the campus, again, self-isolate as per Government of Alberta guidelines there. And they're going to have to call student services. And then student services, well, a member of student services will then connect with the student, do some tracking, find out who they've been interacting with for the previous 2 weeks, and we'll do risk assessments based on that information. Employees and students that are self-isolating. So we have Gprc's COVID-19 information website there. So again, all the latest information and updates. This is the one-stop shop of information to go to there. We have the Gprc relaunch scenario plan, got some course delivery information there. And here's our Gprc staff and student isolation registry. So if you are isolating, you need to log yourself into the student and staff isolation registry. We also have information on here about Gprc mental health resources and some links to some Alberta Health and the Government of Alberta information as well. So as we do the risk assessments, in addition to doing the risk assessments to find out who they've been interacting with over the previous 2 weeks, we're also going to be using custodial to do enhanced cleaning of the areas that the person was at. Now, on a daily basis, we've already have enhanced cleaning taking place with custodial at the Grand Prairie campus and the Fairview campus. Again, focusing on high touch points, common cleaning areas there, public spaces. We've also obtained a Clorox 360 viricide misting cleaning machine. So we'll have a custodial specifically allocated to go into rooms to actually do mist downs, spray downs, to do viricide cleaning as well, in addition to additional custodial on during the day doing the high touch point public areas. So in addition to that, we'll then look to where they've been, the symptomatic individuals for the previous 2 weeks, and we'll also do additional focused custodial cleaning in those areas. Symptomatic individuals and those within 2 meters of symptomatic individuals should use AHS's COVID-19 self-assessment or contact 811 for screening and testing. And again, employees must notify their supervisor if they're self-isolating or awaiting testing. If Gprc learns that 2 or more members of the college community have become symptomatic and have a known location link, Gprc will follow again the rapid response plan. And we have to notify Alberta Health Services. So if we have 2 or more cases of COVID-19 on campus with a known link, we have to contact Alberta Health Services, and then they'll search, we'll review our information for the previous 2 weeks, and we'll work with Alberta Health Services to ensure that we are receiving all proper, people involved are receiving all appropriate instruction. Members of the college community are strongly encouraged to download and use Alberta's voluntary contact tracing app, Alberta Trace Together, and we've got a link to that going on there. Physical distancing and masks. So a physical distance of 2 meters is to be maintained between all individuals at all times while on campus, and a mask must be worn when this cannot be achieved. We have installed, we've pretty much installed many barriers already on campus, acrylic barriers in high location areas where there'll be lots of members like students or individuals kind of coming to interact with different locations. So we do have increased barriers, but if you find that additional barriers may be required for your area, send an email to myself. Now, while navigating hallways, classrooms, shared common spaces, including washrooms, members of the college community must wear a mask. So if you're inside of the premises and you're in the hallway, classroom, shared common space, washroom, we're expecting you to wear masks. Masks can be removed when the individual is seated within their dedicated workspace, when they're positioned behind a barrier intended to achieve physical distancing, or if they're sitting in the cafeteria or at the Fairview campus, the atrium, at a prearranged physical distancing requirement location. So food services is not going to be taking place at all this fall in any way or form. People are going to have to be bringing their own food and information there. So I got a great question there is, what is the safe recommendation to reuse masks, where and how to store used masks? So that's a great question. And I appreciate that question there. And I will follow up with that mask storage and information later on. So I'll keep that as a note for the end point there. So with the cafeteria and the atrium, we're going to be in the public kind of spaces and hallways. We're going to be setting up a few, particularly for the cafeteria and the atrium. We're going to be setting up pockets, little bubbles of access kind of deal, where you'll be like individual seating areas that have like a 6-foot no-go zone around them there. So when the students are in their labs or their classes, if they can guarantee the 6-foot space, we're going to be moving some of the desks apart so that each person will have their own little bubble around them, a 6-foot bubble around the desk. For the instructors, there'll be areas at the front. But when students and instructors are stepping out of these safe zones, then people are going to have to be wearing masks. So facilities will be supplying a department with an initial box of 50 non-medical masks. Any additional mask purchases after that will be the responsibility of the department. Contractors are required to provide their own masks to their employees, and students are expected to supply their own masks when on college premises as well. The bookstores will be also obtaining a special kind of branded Gprc masks for sale too. We're looking into that. So if you're doing work within 2 meters of an individual, so classes, labs, shops, or just employee-related work or tasks, again, you have to be wearing a mask. But also hazard assessments for these tasks should be completed. And are there additional controls that can be put in place, engineering controls, administrative controls to help reduce down COVID-19 mitigation? So talk with your supervisor about completing these hazard assessments and send the information to myself. So again, masks must be worn at all times during lab or shop instruction. Instructors may be present to class without a mask while maintaining physical distancing requirements, but must wear it when instructors are assisting students and physical distancing requirements cannot be maintained. So again, as long as you're within that lab shop class and you have that physical distancing, we have those key locations where you can separate out. It's no problem to be without a mask, but as soon as you're within that 6 feet, the mask goes on. Again, the early learning and childcare and our daycare programs to the GP campus have their own protocols and processes follow. We also have some separate items for the National Bee Diagnostic Centers for individuals working by themselves within the building. In-person meetings are discouraged, and the use of virtual meetings is strongly encouraged even when all participants are on campus. Any meeting deemed necessary to be in person inside the premises must occur within an enclosed room and with the capacity restrictions, and we're going to have prearranged furniture as well. So like at the FAC 144, if there is required or necessary to have an in-person meeting, FAC 144 is going to have a strict capacity number on it for a number of people, and we're going to be reduced down the amount of chairs, tables in that area. But again, the strong encouragement is to continue with the virtual meetings, teleconferences, Zoom meetings, video conferences there. Again, because all the departments are locked, departments like facilities, maintenance and operations or IT, completing work orders must contact the department manager, director, or dean prior to accessing that location. And even though we say the maximum number of people in a room or educational space with appropriate physical distancing is 50, none of the rooms on site that so far we're designing is really getting to that 50 level or fewer. Facilities is going through to the different classrooms there. We are reducing down the number of seats and chairs in each location, and outside each area or classroom, an occupancy will be posted. So it won't actually be the occupancy what's typically. We're going to reduce down the numbers allowed in those spaces. If a member of the college community cannot wear a mask due to a pre-existing medical condition, they must follow up with their supervisor about future access accommodations, and this can be completed through the workplace accommodation policy. Hand washing and respiratory etiquette. Members of the college community should make every effort to ensure respiratory etiquette is followed. So if you do have to, if you just at a random just have a cough or a sneeze, please cough or sneeze into your bent elbow or into a tissue. But if you do, properly dispose of the tissue afterwards in a garbage bin, and always wash your hands after a cough or a sneeze. Washing your hands is the best form of prevention going on there. So again, washing your hands for at least 20 seconds. And if we are around the campus, we have alcohol-based hand sanitizer at 60% or greater. We are increasing and installing additional hand sanitizer locations as well within the buildings as well. And all these will have 60% alcohol or higher. If you do find that you come across a device, hand washing hand soap or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer is not dispensing, submit a work order to facilities. Members of the college community should adhere to additional best practices to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And so that can be seen linked there. And again, we have installed some, and we're installing more hand sanitizer locations throughout the interior of the GP and Fairview premises. As mentioned, Gprc's contractor custodial company has implemented a schedule for enhanced cleaning taking place, high traffic areas, high touch surfaces. But in addition to the custodial schedules, departments will be responsible for sanitizing and disinfecting workspaces and related high-touch surfaces. The use of shared items or equipment must be avoided where possible. Equipment or items that must be shared must be cleaned and disinfected before and after each use by the user, and the user should perform hand hygiene before and after each use. We've included some cleaning tips there. And as part of this, facilities maintenance and operations will be providing the disinfectant and the cleaning supplies to all the departments. So if you find that your supplies are running low, again, submit a work order to your department to get more of the cleaning supplies brought to your area. Departments need to remove all communal items that cannot be easily cleaned, like newspapers, magazines, candy dishes, business cards, etc. Additional information, Gprc supports the psychological health and safety of employees in addition to meeting public health requirements. So there's Gprc's Employee Family Assistance Program, and we have other employee-only human resource-related information on the Human Resources SharePoint site. Also on the website, again, very important, we have some other great links to Gprc mental health resources here on the COVID-19 website. Employees should take part in the COVID-19 contact tracing course available through the Human Resources SharePoint site. So this will link you to, the SharePoint site. You just follow that down the rabbit hole to HR to complete that COVID-19 contact tracing course. Employees, we also have hazard assessments completed for working at 2 meters or greater. That's on the SharePoint site in the health and safety section. Regarding non-essential domestic travel, so within the province, so Gprc related non-essential domestic travel is not recommended. If Gprc related essential domestic travel is approved, so a fleet vehicle booking is approved, limit the number of individuals in the vehicle to 1 person per row. So if you're taking a car, then you're just 2 individuals. If you're taking a van, then 3 individuals. Masks must be worn when there's more than 1 person in the vehicle. And again, we talk about hand sanitizer use before and after. If you're getting out of the vehicle, come back and sit in the same seat that you're in previously there. Airflow in the vehicle should not be set to the recirculating setting. And again, as part of the facilities fleet bookings, we'll have disinfectant and cleaning supplies available. So not only will you be getting your key package, but there's also going to be cleaning supplies available in the vehicle to ensure disinfecting of the vehicle before and after use. We haven't installed physical barriers. We're still assessing that, but in the fleet, our focus is barriers within the campus community as opposed to into the fleets at this time. Employees and contractors are responsible for being aware of the egress routes and muster points on campus. So because we're having a drastic reduction in employees on campus, we may not have all of our evacuation supervisors in place. So all employees and contractors are responsible for being aware of the egress routes and muster points on campus. So what's the fastest way out of your building? What's the closest muster point outside of your building? The information can be linked and found here. During a building evacuation, the responsibility of all employees and security to guide non-employees, so the students, out of the buildings to the muster points. And at the muster points, employees are to encourage evacuees to maintain physical distancing. We looked at the link for the website already there. So you can also remain up to date on developments for COVID-19 at the Alberta website. We have signage posted throughout the facility stating requirements and providing guidelines to ensure safety of the college community. So we got signage throughout the area there. Please pay attention to the signage. So we got, like, for example, on the elevators, we have elevator specific signage. We have the stop, do not enter signage around all the exterior doors for people that are to reduce down people that are symptomatic from coming in. Gprc will keep contact information for all staff and students, so that's easy. HR department keeps it for the staff. For the students, it's kept through student services. And daily attendance lists for in-person classes must be kept. So this is not a difficult thing for the trades programs, because this is a historically typical item. For other items, for other courses being taught, again, daily attendance lists for in-person classes must be kept. And I think our friends in IT are looking for solutions to help facilitate those processes. Section 10 has a lot of good information in general about links and information to different items. And I appreciate the question about masks, guidance around masks. So I strongly recommend checking out these Government of Canada websites here. How do you safely use a non-medical mask or face covering, or about non-medical masks and face covering? So I recommend you check these links out to learn more about that, because we had someone asking about non-medical mask information, and these websites have some great information for that. We also have a picture from the Government of Alberta about how to wear a non-medical mask. All right, so I do appreciate your time with that there. Half hour, just like the other session going on there. But now we're going to be opening it up to questions. So if you have any questions, please go and fire them into the chat feature there. And then what we'll do is we will cover them and talk about them and bring them. So you write down the information, and then as a group, we will bring them up. And hey, if you don't have any questions for right now, that's no problem at all. I'm definitely available by phone or email. You can send me some information and we'll follow up on that questions or comments that you have there. And oh, we got a question going on here. So a great question about the tool rooms. So there's a good question from yesterday as well. So Fairview campus facilities has been already installing for all the tool room attendants. Barriers has already been completed. Fairview campus, all the tool room locations have barriers already installed. Classrooms will be, so the question is, did I say the classrooms will be available for a reduced number of students? So depending on the program taking place, what's happening is facilities is being advised of all the rooms that are being booked and used as part of programs that have been approved for coming back to the site. And so facilities takes this list going on there. And then we are going to go through this list and make sure that all that's been reduced down, and outside those room doors, we're going to have the occupancy. To find out if your room or your list is on your labs for your classes and all that, you'll want to connect with your supervisor and then go that up the line there to find out. So basically, if it's already been approved for an area, talk with your supervisor about access and making sure the labs are in place. I can't say if it's automatically guaranteed or not, so please follow up with your supervisor regarding the rooms that have been approved or not for use. And then basically from the facility side, we just take those documents that shared with us, and we're going to make sure that the rooms have been reduced down for space. Should departments track expenses related to supplies like masks, etc.? Absolutely yes. Please follow up with your supervisor and or with the finance department. There is a function code for COVID-19 related actions and activities there. So definitely want to capture the information. So good question. Will security, another question, will security be patrolling common areas to make sure individuals are wearing masks? Yes, that is correct. So in addition to the screening locations and points, we will have security patrolling through the areas to make sure that individuals are wearing masks. So the question is, if I fail my self-assessment when I'm trying to access building for a lab, will someone notify my students? So I would treat this as the same process for if you are feeling ill, because the idea is that your self-assessment, you already know kind of like the guidelines and the ideas and the conditions behind it. So please follow whatever processes you were to follow if you were sick for the day and you couldn't come to class anyhow. So if whatever processes you already have lined up for that, keep rolling with that process. Question is, if a student is not wearing a mask and walking the halls, who are we to report this to? Call campus security. Will we have access to the building on weekdays only? So that's a good question going on right there. So depending on the nature of the approval for you to come to site, I do appreciate that there was a document sent out previously about processes for, let me just see what it was called there. There wasn't, let's see here. Sorry, I do apologize. So will we have access to the buildings on weekdays only? So you'll have access to the building as per the document for access to your classrooms for that. Anything beyond that will require the VP approval. If one feels any symptoms, can we just complete the app assessment at home and not come to work? So again, if you're not coming in, if you can't come into work because you are still feeling symptoms, that's correct. We definitely don't want you coming on site. Contact your supervisor and complete the self-assessment, staff and student isolation registry on the website. Are there COVID-19 related questions? The question is, do we have to have approval to enter the campus after August 3rd or just go and fill out the app? So again, even up until right up to the get-go, from August 3rd, this month up until August 3rd, and even after August 3rd, there has to be the appropriate approvals in place for you to even come to the campus. So if you are running a program or so for later on when you have the classes, those people will be advised on who have been approved for that. And then if you are coming after August 3rd, you still have to have your VP approval to be on site. That gets passed on to security for entry. And then once you come in, you have to fill in the screening process with the guards. Is there a plan in place for if cases start increasing? Are we going to see another potential shutdown? So I appreciate that question going on right there. So again, for cases, if it starts to increasing, we have the rapid response plan for any COVID-19 related items. So we do have a rapid response plan for if we're starting to see multiple individuals starting to feel sick on campus. And then the other question along the lines is, are we going to see more of a larger scale shutdown with the whole GPRC if it starts to get worse within the province? And again, we just follow the directives of the government of Alberta's guidelines. Once we are allowed in the building, are we free to move around? Example, can I go from my lab to the office and back again? And again, I appreciate that's a very good question going on right there. So there are like the common areas where you can go to. So you can go to your office, obviously, because you'll have to get your items there. We have like the cafeteria, and we'll have the atrium for when we're doing the specific items. But there also is the faculty access and use of premises document that has been sent out. And so that document, the faculty access and use of premises document, also provides information on processes throughout the building there. If a student has to leave class because they may be ill, will they be dismissed from class? If so, why would they report as they would want to finish the program? So again, we're hoping that people are trying to keep each other safe. We want people, that's why we're trying to do a screening process. We want people to stay safe and be mindful of the co-members of the college community going on right there. And just because they're being dismissed does not necessarily mean that they're going to be finished with the program in general. Again, go on to the protocol process and log in at the top item there. And then similar to in the March and fall, student services will get notified and there'll be processes to follow up with the student to make sure they don't fall behind there. What would be the protocol for students that go for smoke breaks prior to their class or in between classes? Well, GPRC is a smoke-free campus, both Grand Prairie campus and Fairview campus. But if they're leaving the campus to go have a cigarette going on right there, as they enter back in, they're still going to have to meet with security just to go and flash that check mark that they're allowed to come in. So is there approval process for students? So great question. So staff coming into the campus for the 3 locations, students, same thing. So students will have the GPRC app and they can also complete the screening. All the students are going to have to complete the screening process as well prior to continuing on to their locations and labs and classes.
And Nate?
Yep.
Can I ask you a question instead of typing? I don't have the facility on my cell.
That's fair. Thank you very much. How can we help you?
If I work or one of my coworkers or I work outside at, say, a truck, and I need to access M134 to get tools and whatnot to fix said truck and or use the washroom, do I need to walk all the way to the theater to use the washroom?
No, I do appreciate that. So great question going on there. So to start out your day, so with our friends and down in the M wing there, so we have our labs and our processes down there. So there will be a sign in for the initial sign in at the beginning with M wing going on right there. But then as you're coming forth back within, just because your vehicle is right by the door, you can come back and forth into that specific area going on there. But if you're leaving the campus for some item and then you're coming back, we'll ask that you come in through M wing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, if there's any further questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email or a phone call. We're following up with you as fast as we can on your different questions and comments. And again, review the document and stay monitoring the GPRC website for the most latest information, either through the website or they're sent out through those staff approaches from our executive team. You guys have a very good rest of your day, and thank you all very much for your time.